Dr. Tara Kartha, is that also your understanding, and what's your reading of these Pakistani fears that its nuclear assets could be targeted and that the West, after Iran, could try and defang Pakistan?
Well, there's a huge guilty conscience there, isn't it? I mean, fears always arise out of that. But like, I would agree with General Dillon on two things. One is these guys have created terror attacks, which we brought out on your program, on the countries in Europe, in US, in Indonesia, in Malaysia. These are all Pakistanis who've gone out. Number two is, more importantly, the fact is, if indeed they have, that's an if, they've launched an ICBM program, they've had it. The US is not going to allow a Pakistan to target Washington. That is just not on the cards. So if that takes place, then Pakistan has very good reasons to be frightened. Number two is it's just next to Iran, so there is the fear of what could happen next. But in practical terms, as you know, they have always been a pawn to different countries. So I don't see why the US has used Pakistan for years. And we all know that history. Why would it want to bomb Pakistan? They've helped even in Iran. In fact, it's a
Yes,
different issue that the Iranian centrifuges came from Pakistan. I mean, that's where it
yes.
began, the whole game began. But we had somebody on a show recently, a US person saying, the Pakistanis have never threatened the US. Iran has. I'm like, look at the crowds, what they're chanting. They're burning your flag. So there's this kind of, shuttered view of Pakistan, which they take full advantage of. So I'll stop there.
No, you're absolutely right. We had Reverend Banks on the show the other day, who
Yeah.
for some reason just didn't believe that Pakistanis pose a threat to the Americans, despite Down with America being chanted every other day in Pakistan, quite like in Iran. But Sushant Sareen, Pakistanis have feared an Israeli plan even in the past. I want to draw you to reports that had emerged sometimes in early 1990s that Israel had suggested to India that India and Israel work together. This appeared in Pakistani media pretty extensively that time, that India and Israel collaborate to take out Kahuta in Rawalpindi district. Was there such a plan that never materialized? Some reports seem to indicate that Indira Gandhi at that time had backed out at the last moment.
Gaurav, one on Reverend Banks, I don't even know whether he knows where Pakistan is. If you give him a map of the world, if he can even point out where Pakistan is. Frankly, those guys I don't take seriously. But look, there are two parts to it. One is, was there a plan? Now, there is some literature that the Pakistani, even after the nuclear tests in 1998, the Pakistanis went to town, that a couple of nights before they tested, they went to town that India and Israel, that Israeli jets have landed in India, and India and Israel are together likely to come and bomb Pakistani nuclear sites. That was one. But earlier in the 80s, also there was this talk that India and Israel were collaborating to take out Kahuta. Again, we have not heard anything to affirm that whether that was actually the case from an Indian source. And I would always take Pakistani sources with tons of salt. So that is the second. The third part is, and which is of greater concern to me. So even let us imagine a situation where the Americans or the Israelis or somebody else decide that the Pakistani nukes now present a clear and present danger, and they need to take those out. Now, the problem is going to be that once you start bombing Pakistani nuclear facilities, there are two issues now. One is that there are three actually. One is, can you take them all out? Second, assuming you can take them all out, then there is the second attendant problem. What happens to the fallout? Supposing you are going to be bombing places where enrichment facilities are taking place. We are right on the goddamn border. Yeah? There is a reason why between India and Pakistan, we have an agreement that we will not attack each other's nuclear facilities. And if supposing some third party was also going to come and start attacking Pakistani nuclear facilities, then there is that very real danger of fallout coming on to India. That's not something we are looking forward to. And the third problem is going to be that if you don't get all of them, then it is part of the Pakistani strategic thinking, strategic doctrines, that no matter who attacks us, no matter if some Martian comes and attacks us or our nuclear facilities, our response is going to be that we are going to attack India and India's nuclear facilities. This is that, that childish, puerile behavior doctrines, which, small 4-year, 3-year-old kids have, that if mother has scolded one kid, that kid will go and beat the sibling because he thinks that is he can trouble the mother. That is the Pakistani attitude vis-a-vis India. So even if we have no part to play in it, they will, if there is an attack on Pakistani nukes,
Okay.
then the Pakistani thing is that we are going to come and attack India. Now, we just have a neighbor from hell, and we just need to be prepared to, deal with them with whatever they bring towards us, and then do whatever we need to do. So I think we need to look at it from that aspect also, which very often we miss out. Iranians
General
did not
Dhillon,
have a bomb to attack the
okay.
Israel, and in many other cases that has not been the case.